Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? This is GiGi Adams Evans of The Journey on the Artist Loft, and my guest today is Mr. Michael Mohammed. Michael will be on with us shortly. Say hello to everyone, and may God bless you and have a happy weekend um, leading up into your new week. Michael is, hi Michael, there he is.
Peace.
Hi, how are you? This is my guest, Michael Mohammed, ladies and gentlemen. He is the author of Waking on the Other Side of Pain. Michael, how are you today?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
I'm great. I'm great. You've been busy a lot, I noticed. And not only are you a lyricist, a video producer, among other things, you're also the author of this book that you dedicated to your mom. So let's talk about this book and we'll go in. What prompted you to really write this book in the beginning?
Uh, well, like anybody else, we go through tests and we go through trials. And
Exactly.
it was a point in my life where I was faced with a test, with a trial, and it was real painful. You met me in the early, I think, 2009, when
2000 and yeah,
I was going through the test, and
yeah, we
and
talked about
we talked at your home. You gave me some advice. Uh, you prophetically told me of some things then that I lived through later on. But I have a friend by the name of Professor Griff from Public Enemy, the
hmm
group called Public Enemy. And at one of his lectures, I met a brother by the name of Jaheed Muhammad who had a simple workbook called What Can You Do in 90 Days?
yeah,
So I thought about it and I was like, what could I do? And
exactly. In
but
90
going
days.
but going through my test and my trials, it kind of 90 days became a long process. And a brother of mine, a student of mine, brother
Mm.
Hakim, when I was going through, he said, "Brother, I've been through what you've been through." He said, "There's gonna come a time one day you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be like, F it all."
Mm-hmm.
And when that day came, I called him. I spoke with some other brothers. Matter of fact, Salam Alaikum, the brother Noah Muhammad. I spoke with him and I said, I'm up. And so it came back to me about what can I do in 90 days. So I started the 90-day process over. And
Yeah,
I said I was going to write a book. And so when we go through pain, there's things that take place after we feel that we overcome that pain.
exactly. Exactly.
But when the tests come again, we see we only, kind of masked it, put a bandage on it. We never really woke up on the other side of that pain.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
Do you think there's some sort of vortex between waking up on that other side of pain versus reality? Do you think they combine in some kind of way that you're always centered around your spirit, but somehow if you could kind of like, for instance, walk through a parallel universe to get to that other side, do you think you could tackle it and make it better than what it was? Um, do you think that you could handle it in a different way?
well, reality teaches us that we live in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And living in the moment, we can say what we would do, Then after something happened, we can say what we should have done, right?
Right.
And other
Right.
people can tell you what they would have did or what. You ever been in your life? Let's say you got in a fight, and your friends say, "I wish that was me. I would have did such and such, and I would have did such and such." And you like, but it wasn't you.
Right.
And
You
then
weren't in
when
that.
you see them get in a fight, they did nothing that they said that they was gonna do.
No.
So though I understand frequency levels, I understand the spiritual reality, and part of my for me to grow spiritually, I had to go through that pain
Mm-hmm.
to understand relationship, to understand self. It was the pain that caused me to grow and mature in who I am, and hopefully to become today.
Right. Now, in your book, you said you were coming into an understanding of reality, which you just spoke about briefly just a moment ago. But to to give advice to anyone else who's trying to struggle to find that reality, what would you have? What would you say to them as far as your experiences are waking on the other side of pain?
First, you have to embrace pain. See, we look at pain as something that's terrible. And if you could just understand, pain is part of the process. You know, they got a saying, no pain, no gain.
Right. It's a
See,
physical suffering.
right. And for every physical reality, there's a spiritual application that's equal. Uh, because you can't separate the mental and the spiritual and the physical from each other. Uh,
Exactly.
why?
Exactly.
Because everything comes from a thought. And
Exactly.
as, and as a man thinketh, male and female, so shall they be.
So shall he be. Exactly.
So
N-
when someone is going through pain, anyone that is going through pain, study the pain. Why am I pain is an indication that something is wrong.
Exactly.
And for every cause there's an effect. So once you feel the pain, you gotta find out what causes the pain, then do what it takes to get rid of the cause,
Bit
then
of
the
the
pain goes away.
exactly. Now you dedicated this book to your mom. Um, why did you dedicate this book to your mom? The audience would like to know that.
Um, she was my first, how can I say it? She was my first example of
Mm-hmm.
someone that constantly overcame pain. You know, as a child, my mother got six sons, and at the time, it was only maybe no all sisters was there at the time, but I was a little younger, and as a child, I would hear my mother cry through her bedroom door, and I used to lay in the bed and cry along with her, taking on her pain. But I would see her get up and still do what it took to take
Exactly.
care of her sons.
That was a
She would,
strength within the spirit.
so she would constantly overcome her pain. She would constantly wake up on the other side of her pain and do that which I'm doing today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This book is so profound. I was reading it, I'm still reading it, and all the attributes that you put into this book blow my mind because you never really conceive how much a person can really go through what you've written about and still be 1% on the whole side of reality, if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah,
Uh, so many people suffer in so many ways in their minds, in their hearts, and in their spirits, but you are able to write about it and to give precise descriptions of the struggles that you had And that's quite astounding for me because no one knows exactly the difficulties that a person can go through except for the person that's experiencing that difficulties.
Right.
And for you to come to, uh, I guess, a fork in the road, for lack of a better word, I mean, you really outdone yourself here, Michael. And
Oh,
I
praises,
want to
man.
go into, I want to go into it, and people, I want you to actually, if you can, to support Michael by purchasing his book, um, waking on the other side of pain. Michael, how can they get this book? Where can they purchase it at?
It's an ebook, and because I one day I was sitting up and something told me, put the book out today, put it out in the ebook. Because you're author. How can I self-publish? How can I publish? Something say put it out today, put it out in the ebooks. Somebody
Ex-
needs this today.
Exactly,
And so
exactly.
I went on Instagram, I went on Facebook, and I started promoting. Hey, you can inbox me or DM me your email address and
Hmm.
cash out me at $ Mike God, MICGOD. And
Right.
even when you cash out me, you can put your email, and that is for the ebook, and I will mail you the ebook personally. And
The
so
ebook.
I've been having some beautiful people have have supported it and have um, gave me their reviews of the book, and I've received some good love from it, and I'm very honored, humbled, and appreciative of that.
That's wonderful. And with juggling this with you being a lyricist, a movie producer, a music producer, and all of that, you took time to write this book and talk about your survivals and your struggles. The mental aspects of it, I know kind of bogged you down. You wanna elaborate on that a little bit for us?
On what aspect of it now?
The mental attributes of it, you know.
Well, the book was done over a period of time,
Hmm.
and I had to stop in the music area and kind of focus more. Like it wasn't like I set up and was like, okay, I'm going to write and just roll. It was it was a time span and was done over a time span. Why?
Hmm.
Because when you to overcome pain, sometimes you have to revisit that pain. Uh,
Exactly.
and sometimes we don't want to revisit pain, but to really know that you overcome something, sometimes you have to revisit. A person that does drugs don't know that they have overcome drugs until they are placed in that environment again. And then when they're placed in that environment, then they can see how weak they are. So
Exactly.
on a mental level, when you have to revisit your pain of your past, it's so if you start living that pain, you start going through that pain again and living that pain, then you know you haven't really woke up on it.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
on a mental level, right in the book, I had to revisit pain. And I had to say, I handled that situation pretty good. Oh man, I really messed up in that part of my life when I was going through.
Exactly.
And,
But
and
I'm sorry, but I didn't mean to cut you off,
no,
but
go
the
ahead.
mental picture that you have, in you talked about anagrams and of finding yourself and having that impact on injury. Um, that's totally awesome to me because no one can, to me, in my perception, can imagine anything that anyone else goes through uh, on a physical level. You know what I'm saying? And with you and with our talks in the past from years way back, it seems as if you put all of this into your book, you know, and it kind of propelled you into going into a deeper consciousness of yourself and dealing with all the things that you had to deal with.
Right.
So
Right.
after you got all of this down packed and you got your book together, how did you manage to just keep focusing and moving on, moving forward in a positive way?
Well, once I completed the book,
Hmm.
uh, crazy thing, I have a one of my oldest brothers. I come from a very talented family,
Yeah,
and we push each other. And so one of my oldest brother, Black, we call him Black, Desi Stanley. Uh, he he was like, "Yeah, write a book." When I told him, man, so I wrote the book, and I was like, "Hey, I wrote the book," and I sent it to him, and the book was actually like maybe 15, 20 pages, and he was like, "That's a very small book." So like I wrote everything that I could write. I'm all written out. And so he was like, "Yeah, that's a nice little memo notebook type thing." And so I kind of set it to the side. And so over time span, I kept going back and adding to it and adding
hmm,
to it. And so then like I said, it set up for a while, and I would present it to people, and they would go, "Hey, I like that. You should put it out. You should put it out." And like I said, uh, just a few weeks ago, I was sitting up. As a matter of fact, I had done something in the studio. I was studying, and then I just like I'm going to take a break, and I sat down and was on like meditating, and it
exactly.
and it, and it came to me say, "Put the book out today." And so I went and like okay, and went on Facebook and came on Instagram. I was like, "Yo, I got an ebook," and
Yeah,
and people started because I was like, how you second it, yeah, I put this out, ain't nobody gonna want my book, and people
beware
responded,
of,
and it blew my mind.
beware of self-doubt. That's one
Yes,
thing I had to
yeah,
learn about self-doubt myself.
mm,
Focus, on who you are and what you want to be
yeah.
in life, and then that way you can move forward. But uh I'm appreciative that you wrote this book because it's going to touch a lot of lives. And you were talking in your book about um, relationships and the perspectives of finding relationships and how you go through those. Let's talk about that for a minute. What prompted you to write about, finding the perspectives in a relationship?
That's a beautiful
You're going too deep.
question.
Just tell me
No,
if I'm
no,
going too deep.
no. I have no problem with any question that you have.
Okay.
That's the purpose of putting the book out.
Okay.
I, when I went through a marriage that that ended after 13 years,
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
and I stated in the book, I lost my job, my marriage was coming to an end, my children was being taken from under my roof,
Oh,
and
wow.
and so, but I didn't point the blame. I wasn't pointing fingers or trying to blame anyone. I said, "Well, what did I do wrong in the relationship?
Hmm.
What was my shortcoming?" And studying that, I started having a better relationship with myself. Uh, I started getting to know me better.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
you
You
know,
always, you always get to know. I want to give a shout out right quick to all the people that
yeah,
are joining in and saying hello to you. I can't really read their names unless I put my
right.
specs. But go ahead, Michael, keep going.
Let me see. Um, Molly's son, peace. Rick from Delaware, peace. The next chapter, peace. Uh, let's see. Martin, Martin, the voice of triumph, peace. I can't.
The
Uh,
exact chapter.
yes. It was it Kwani. Forgive me if I'm messing up your name. Peace. Miss McNeil, peace. Stephanie McLaughlin, Fatima, peace. Sha Love, peace. Chuck, Woody Ray,
Mhm.
peace. So we
Yeah,
we thank you all for joining in.
and I want to say hello to Sean Wolfer, who is an artist, a very creative and talented young man in in my life that I've met, and I'm trying to support him as much. He's listening in now. He's also
Peace.
the manager over in Africa for anyone that wants to book with us on Instagram, and
Okay.
we'll go from there. Uh,
Okay.
Sean Wolfer 741. You can find him on Instagram. But
Okay, Sean Wolfer, how you doing? Peace.
yeah, but let's keep going into
Okay.
effectiveness of, well, the not the effectiveness, the downside of you coming out of this, your marriage for 13 years, you said, and having to go through all of these things. How did it change you? How did it make you become better at what you do? I guess for um any other reasons in a relationship.
Well, like I said, studying myself and not looking to put blame at anyone
Hmm.
and being honest with myself. We can't grow in who we are unless we be honest with ourselves. You know, we can lie to everybody else, but when we get along in that room, we have to face self. And so
Yeah,
as Michael Jackson, who's one of my favorite artists of all time, said, I'm starting with the man in the mirror.
e- exactly,
And
exactly.
I have children, and I have family, brothers, sisters, and friends that I wanted to be an example of someone who is tapped into their higher God self, somebody
Hmm.
that could operate from their higher God self. You know,
Hmm.
I call my name is Mike God, MICGOD, which
Hmm.
is in Hebrew, Michael means he who is like God.
Exactly.
And so there was a play on Micah, my God, because MICHA, the EL is God.
Is God, right?
And so there was a play on that. And then being an MC, the microphone, Mike God, I'm a
Hmm.
God on the mic.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so it became a divine attribute as an acronym, Master, I see God, Cipher, Divine. My
Right.
cipher is my thoughts, my culture, my way of life, who I am. I seen it as
Exactly.
being divine.
Exactly. I've got a question for you from one of the listeners, watchers,
Yes.
and viewers, Equanimity 73. She'd like to know, what type of calming strategies do you use?
Music.
Hmm.
I
I knew
listen to
you would.
music. I'm a writer. I write rhymes, poetry. Um, Sometimes I sit up and just like when I'm go like freestyle, like let's say the unseen scene is back, but they never see me right. My style was free because they never see me right.
Right. Come on,
I
keep going. Right.
I walked on waters when the floods came. Child of the Most High, way before the drug game.
That's
I
deep.
fought death in the womb, told the doctors in the room life is intense, so I raised the levels of the boom. Still need water to live, got a lot to give. Word to Allah, I gotta keep it real. You see? And so I would write my thoughts down. You know, this, and the Bible said, write it down and make it plain.
Right now, make it right.
And,
Exactly.
and so, um, as an MC, a lot of people think when I turn on my radio, when I turn on stuff, it's all hip hop, boom, boom, boom. But when I'm in my when I'm home, I listen to Michael Jackson. I watch Michael Jackson's video. That's my. But I'm listening to jazz. I'm listening to ocean sounds. I have my projector on my wall with uh, you can see sharks and jellyfish, you know. So I got my candles lit and this stuff, and I just lay up and just listen. Peace,
Yeah,
calm, peace, calm. You know,
you, that's that calming of the mind
my
spirit, a spiritual energy that, see, people don't understand um that the heart is here instead of here.
the root of your thought
The
process.
root of your thought processes. And people think that, oh, Gigi, you're just crazy. You're saying that because your heart is in your chest. Your spiritual heart is here.
Yes,
And that's where everything focuses from.
right,
Because, as we talked before in the past, we talked about a lot of spiritual connections and how you would get from one point to another.
right,
And here today, you've put it all in this book, which is
right.
amazing. And I just have to commend you and congratulate you
Thank you.
for a job well
Give
done.
thanks. Give thanks.
The book is deep. The book
Give
is
thanks.
deep. But I want to ask you more content into the book as far as helping someone else. I asked this before, but I want to ask it in a different way. If you saw someone that was actually physically suffering, what part of your book would you take them to at this particular time? Where would you take them in that chapter of your book?
Well, let me.
As far as
I'm, I'm pulling up the book so I can stroll through it right quick.
it's
Um,
okay. What part would you take them if they were going through anguish, mental anguish? Like you said, you pull up your screen and you don't go and all
right.
on there, whatever. You know, how would you handle that? How would you help them to focus more as far as your book is concerned?
I think there's a section that deal with fear,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times when we get upset, angry, depressed, or anything we're going through, it's because there's worration. There's something we fear and worry about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so even with a job, even with a relationship, when we are faced with something within them, we fear loss. I'm gonna lose a woman. I'm gonna lose a man. I'm gonna lose a job. I'm gonna get sick. Fear comes in, and we begin to worry. And that worrying is deconstructive thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's when we think about the worst possible thing that could happen, and then we respond to it as if it's already happening.
It's already happening. Exactly.
And
So that kind of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
fear brings on stress, it brings on depression, and then when there's mental pain, it brings on physical pain. It's called psychosomatics.
Psychosomatics, exactly.
When something's going on in the mind, the body
Yeah.
becomes responsive to the thought,
So,
and so we become sick. But we don't use that in a positive way, where we can say psychosomatic. I could think positive and bring forth healing.
exactly. Exactly.
What the book is
And that's
all
pretty much
about.
kind of like people that are sick, but they're not really that sick. So the psychosomatic issues that's going on in their brain makes them more sicker than what they are. So they got to
Right,
learn how to deal with it in another intellectual way instead of the way that they're manifesting in their minds, which is all negative power, you
right,
know.
right.
But go ahead, go ahead.
And so I would take them to dealing with fear. You have to deal with your fears. Uh,
Exactly.
and once we deal with fear, because I talk to a lot of people that are going through. I've done peer counseling with a lot of veterans because, um, as you know, after you and I met, and I
Mm.
and that's why I tell you, you are part of my history, a part of my growth and my development. Little did you know.
Thank you. No, I didn't know that.
And so what I tell people, after I came from Atlanta, after meeting you, you gave me a book dealing with angels.
Yeah.
And you said, go home and read this. And I went straight and read it to make sure you got it back in a timely fashion. We discussed it and everything. But when I got back to North Carolina,
Hmm.
and you had told me, you said, you're going to go through something. You're not going to understand it yet, but you're going to go through something.
Remember, I told you it was a metamorphosis of changes that was
Yes,
your life in a prophetic way because I saw that. Not saying that I'm a prophet, you guys out there, but I have gifts too. I'm sure
right.
everybody does. But in that way that you were struggling then, you seem to be much better as time went by because you were self healing. And self healing is in your book,
Yes.
to a certain extent. So let's let's kind of talk about that self healing because we've talked about it in the beginning of the show in a different kind of way. But the deepness inside of your spirit, where did you go with that?
Like I say, I'm a writer.
Mm-hmm.
So, in going through my pain, I tapped into a side of me that became, it actually became uh, a MC, my alter ego called Mr. Ripper Nigga.
What? Okay.
And so what I would do, let's say if I had a negative thought, I would call that nigga thinking. So
Okay.
I would sit down. I'm I'm freestyling now because I can't remember exactly when I. So I would sit down and let's say if you made me mad, Queen GiGi, right? So I will
Mm-hmm.
sit down and write Queen GiGi, yo, she made me mad. I want to see what I could do to make her life sad. If I'm angry, she don't need to be glad, right? So Mr. Ripper nigga would come in, right? Mr. Ripper
Mm-hmm.
nigga, I would come in as Mr. Ripper nigga and write, yo, Gigi's not the problem. It's you. Won't you talk about all the negative things you do?
Mm-hmm.
How you get on people's nerves? How you say evil words? How you say things that people ain't never heard? I would counterattack all my negative stuff with Mr. Ripper nigga.
Okay. That's another side of midnight there. We have a viewer that wants to know the name of your book. And what's his name? Chuck Woody Raymond. He wants to know the name of your book, and then we'll go back to what this Mr. Ripper, that word
Okay,
person. Yeah,
right.
we'll go
Uh,
back.
the the name of the book is Waking Up on the Other Side of Pain. Waking up on the other side of pain. I'm here on Instagram, so you can DM me if you want the book. DM me with your email address and cash out me $10 to money sign Mike God MICGOD. And when you cash out, you can put your email in there, or just let me know I sent you an email in my DM, and I'll definitely send you the book. It's an ebook.
Okay, Michael, I want to ask you too. What about the people that are in foreign countries? How can they? Because a lot of times Cash App and PayPal doesn't work for them. Is there another alternative to ordering your book? If they DM you, maybe you could give them some instructions on how to do that. Because this person is from Africa that asked you that question.
Okay. Um, if they doesn't have cash out,
It's kind of hard, yeah.
yeah, or PayPal. Um, I tell you what, if you're from a foreign country and you DM me and you're here on Instagram and you let me know that you don't have any way to get the book to me, send me your email address and I'll bless you with the book. And for
Oh,
and for
wow.
pay and for payments, do a video review to tell me how you felt about the book on Instagram and tag me in it so I can use you as promotion. And that way we can work together.
And send it to me so I can post it too, Michael.
Yes.
Yeah, send it to me. That's so godly of you, that. And see, people don't know the teddy bear in you like we do who know you.
Mm,
There's a good side to Michael that people rarely don't experience, because when you first meet him, he comes on to you like this big giant teddy bear this big giant grizzly bear that's just gonna attack you. But inside and in here, he's one of the sweetest people that you could ever meet.
give
And I'm saying
thanks.
that personally
Give thanks.
because I love you with all my heart, and you are a blessing to so many,
Give
especially
thanks.
because it was good to meet you too way back in the day, and
Yes.
it's have the opportunity now to actually put you on live Instagram, something that
Yes.
I was so fearful of because I'm just camera shy. Anyway, let's just move on from there about being aware of your pain and the behavior that follows that. Let's talk about that. How do you handle that behavior? How do you how do you handle yourself in society?
I'm a member of the Nation of Islam under the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
Wa alaikum salam. And as a matter of fact, I spoke at an event today dealing with restoring the community through unity. But
Mm-hmm.
the minister has study guides called self improvement, the basis for community development. And in
Mm-hmm.
one of the study guides, there's a chapter called Rising Above Emotions
Wow.
into the Thinking of God.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things, if you read the book, it talk about emotions, how emotion is energy, and motion. You have negative energy in motion and you have positive energy in motion.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so I will rise above the negative energy that was in motion
Mm-hmm.
into the thinking of God.
Exactly.
Because if you know the scripture says, ye are all God's children of the most high God.
Or the Most High gods. Exactly.
But you would
Exactly.
die like men, meaning we're still gonna suffer, we're still gonna go through, but the objective is to rise above emotions.
Exactly.
Many times that we get in trouble is because of emotions. We
Exactly.
allow our emotions, the negative emotions, to control our thought process and we our behavior. As a man thinketh, so shall he be. So
Exactly.
every time I had the negative thought, like I said, when Mr. Ripper nigga would come in and be like, nah, you don't supposed to do that. Where your mind at? You can't have that ill effect, you know? And so and that's what I do. Self talk is part of self healing. So you know, we all talk to ourselves, you know. And I was telling somebody that they say, "Oh yeah, it's all right to talk to yourself, long as you don't answer back." I say, "Well, who better to answer me than me?"
Exactly. I talk to myself and I answer myself back. I mean,
Right.
to see if we go into this deep process, Michael, of wondering why we answer ourselves back. Remember when we talked about the voice of God,
Yes.
our conscious mind, and that consciousness sometimes allow you to speak out and answer yourself in a way people look at you like, boy, she going crazy.
Right.
I'm not going crazy. I'm
Right.
speaking and I'm listening and I'm hearing the same way that you would be, in your collective thoughts. So having to wake up on the other side of pain can take you through different metamorphoses in your life. And those metamorphoses will kind of blend in eventually, like on a pathway where everything is just smoothing in until everything comes to one collective. And that one collective is the balance, the mental, capabilities that you have in order to balance that out. So let's talk about that, the balancing of the mentalness, and give it to me in a way. Um, let's see, Farrakhan would do it.
Thought controls our thought shape matter. Right? Everything in the universe consists of matter. And thought travels at 24 billion miles per second.
Exactly.
And so once you get a thought, our thoughts becomes words.
Hmm.
Then our words become action. Then our actions become habit. Then our habits become our destiny.
Which so far identifies you.
Yes, all praises due to
All
Allah.
praise. Well, that's right.
Mm.
So, with all of this, Michael, and doing the book, do you plan on? I'm going to ask you this out of the blue because I know this is unscripted for both of us. I think I like better unscripted than to go by the usual mainstream of questions. Would you consider having a movie made of this book at some point in your life?
Um,
Come on, Michael. When have you ever been?
let
When have you been short
me,
for words? Now, come on.
no, it's no what has kept me because me and my baby brother Jason, the public's eye.
I know him. I
Yes, I had the public side because I know you're gonna. If you're not watching now, I know you're gonna watch it. That's my baby brother, and quiet as kept. Don't never let tell him I said this. Uh, because he's always been the baby of the family. A lot of things I've done, even when I came down to Atlanta to work with him, we was working on the TV set,
right.
TV. It was because I wanted to be a perfect example of a man, perfect example of a brother to all my brothers, and especially my baby brother. And so he was saying, you need to do a documentation. You need to do a documentary. So if I would do, and I think it would be a documentary uh, to show forth, like
Like
where
the one
other
you did for me.
right, where other people can tell what they see of who I am. you
Hmm.
know, because sometimes we see ourselves and we don't see ourselves completely, right? And
Exactly.
and he tells me all the time, it's people that you don't even know that respect you and love you and listen to you. And so how I see myself many times, because every day that we wake up on the other side of pain, there's another level of pain that we have to face.
Exactly. It's
Pain
called
just don't stop.
it's called reality.
Indeed, and indeed, and struggle, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us, struggle is ordained by God, so you don't get comfortable where you at. Uh, you can't get comfortable where you at. And I
Mm-mm.
think Sean Wolfer I asked earlier, am I a music producer? Yes, I do produce music. Um, I'm getting back into that more now. I'm working
Hmm.
on an album. Um, I maybe down in Atlanta, because well, it's just gonna be like what they call it, an EP, like maybe
Hmm.
4 or 5. I'm probably gonna do 7 tracks because 7 is God and supreme mathematics. And I'm a 7 month baby. I was premature, born 7 months. My mother named me at birth Michael Gregory Stanley, and all of them have 7 letters in each aspects of the name. So I'm a 7 month baby born with 7 letters. I was born on 1/12/66, and that can add up to 7. And My mother used to, before we could eat, we would have to read a Bible scripture
Mm-hmm.
before we would eat or before we go to bed. And so I was searching through the Bible and I came to the book of Daniel's. And Daniel's chapter 12, verse 1 says, and on that day, Michael would stand for the
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
And I told my mom, hey, they talking about me in the Bible. And she said, what makes you think that, do you think that's you? I was like, yeah, that's me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I live off of, that scripture that, hey, this is talking about me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, the book of Daniel is a deep book in the Bible, and it gives descriptions to a lot of things that we really need to focus on right now.
Yeah.
It really does. And with you having the seven, my number is seven also. My
Mm-hmm.
birth number is seven. It was given to me at birth. So it's
uh,
kind of something with that number seven there,
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
with with all of these things going on, and you did address to Sean Wolfer that you are a music producer. And he's a good one at that because I've seen some of his work in the past. I've listened to some of your tracks, and
Uh-huh.
they're totally awesome. I mean, they're mind blowing, and I know that now in this day and time they'll be even more awesome because you've opened that door to your third eye, and you've been able to be aware of all the things that are happening in your life now. As
Yeah.
far as I believe Farrakhan had said one time, be the person that you want to be in the world to a certain extent,
Right.
create that person within yourself. Who do you choose to be? Do you want to be like someone else or do you want to be yourself? Being yourself to me is the best way to exhibit your own personality, your own energy,
Yeah.
the all in all that entails Michael the God.
Yeah.
So after all of these circumstances that had happened to you and all the things that you're going through, let's talk about let's see, the study of the soul suddenly being thinner. What do you mean by that? You
Repeat
see,
that.
you said here the study of the soul can deal with the inner, I said thinner, can deal with the inner parts of a spirit. Let's elaborate on that. What do you mean by that?
Well, when we deal with soul, like we're actually dealing with psyche.
Mm-hmm.
When we deal with psychology, you're dealing with study of the soul. Spirit is energy. Right? When you look up the etymology of the word spirit, it's breath,
Mm-hmm.
oxygen, energy, right? So when you study the soul is your deep subconscious reality, your inner INNER energy, your
Mm-hmm.
inner God is your soul. So
Exactly.
that inner God works when the conscious mind is not aware. So when we're asleep, we can go places with our soul. Our soul take us places that
Mm-hmm.
constantly we can't go or physically we can't go. One of the situations that took place with me when after building with you and you telling me that I was going to go through something that, probably going to kind of scare me. It's not, I don't think I was scared. I was just overwhelmed because I had mentally, spiritually, I had never tapped into that frequency level.
Mm-hmm.
But I had out of body experience. I could what they call astroplane,
Astroplane. Exactly.
and uh, there were times when it would first started happening. I could feel me leaving me, and I would yell, "No, nah!" And so somebody that was in around in the room like, "Oh, you all right? You having a nightmare?" And but they didn't know that, hey, I could feel me leaving me and looking back at me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there was a time that I went to the typewriter, a computer, and was typing with both hands, and I was like, hey, this is not me.
One finger, Michael.
Right. And I think Jason, I called Jason during that time. I think he spoke to you when I was going through this time.
Yeah.
Um, and the person, it was a young girl that was typing
Mm-hmm.
and told me to come look for her. And so I went looking for her. And then I come back to my computer and started typing again.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you came and looked for me. You are the one. You are the one. And my good brother and friend, Ron Mack, just came on, and he was there at the time this thing was going on where I was experiencing these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said, you came to look for me. You are the one. You would
Mm-hmm.
never have to worry about taking care of your family again. You would never have to worry about taking care of your children again. We are going to bless you. And so my subconscious that tapped into the universe, and I end up, as you know, I end up in the mental ward.
Yeah.
Went through things, and so that sparked me on with my VA disability. Till I went through everything that I suppose I
Right.
went through, and I end up with 100% total and permanent military disability. I don't have to worry about feeding my children no more. I don't have to worry about my next meal. My mother house was taken from me in 2015. I bought it back and paid for it in full.
See, that's God.
That's God.
That's
And
God.
so and so the soul is tapping into your subconscious mind and paying attention.
Exactly.
Paying attention is key.
Yeah, yeah. And see, with all of that you put into this book, your book that you've written, and it's a launch pad. It's a launch pad for so many others that really I say you need to get it and read it. That's what I say. But support Michael here. Um, and if you can get a copy of his book, because all of these things that he's talking about, he's been through. Just because you were in that mental ward does not mean that something was going on with you that nothing could ever change that. That was the stress of the matter that you were going through
Right.
with
Yeah.
your OBEs and you astroplaning and you traveling. All of these things are part of our anatomy. We all have these gifts. Some people just don't want to realize them and they think that you're crazy because I OBE at any time. If I want to go somewhere, I know where I'm going and I know what I want to see. You know, the important part of that, Michael, is to make sure that you pray before you OBE because it's hard to get back sometimes,
Yeah.
you know. And with all of that, I really have to commend you on just sticking to what you believed in, no matter the obstacle. And I salute you for
All
being a
praises
part of
due.
the military and protecting us, at times of trials and tribulations, because this is so much, there's so much that you do. I like to tell the people about the documentary that you did for me that's available
Okay.
on YouTube, Michael, that it's got over 2 million people watching it.
Wow. All
This is your
praises
work
due.
for the book that I
All
wrote for
praises.
the young lady that we won't.
And we
Anyway,
did. We did actually did. I Actually produced the track. Remember
Yes, you did.
the cold is
And
the winter without a cold.
Winter Without a Coat, and that's it. And I'd like to get the track if you can send
Oh
it to me, if you can find
man.
it, if
Yeah, that's yeah.
if
That's
you can find it, or maybe
I don't even think it exists.
you can recreate it again. But
Right.
that particular book, I don't know as far as her selling it and how she's come about on the royalties and everything. But you inspired that young lady, Michael. You inspired her, even though she's still doing the things that she shouldn't be doing. As far as the unnecessary things that she uses to poison her body. She's a
Right.
better person because of you. And ladies and
All
gentlemen,
praises due.
this guy is, you're like a minister in disguise in a way,
All
because you have
praises
that
due.
healing process within you. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes, man.
you alone left in a room with a lot of people. I think and I believe in my spirit that you would be able to turn all of those people around from their negative aspect in life to a more positive one, especially when you get down into your Islam roots,
All
and you
praises
start
due.
to teach and to preach. So I really commend you on that, Michael. And moving on in your book, where there are things that you say are emotional, things that blocked you at times, things that you couldn't even understand yourself, and looking at your mom again, God rest her soul and bless her, in understanding all of this and all of the anguish that you went through, you still managed to come out on top.
All praises due to Allah.
You still managed to come
Indeed.
out on top. And Ron Mack, hello for joining. Thank you. Ron Mack 85, thank you for joining. And I'm really proud of you because of the fact that not only did you move the negativeness from your spirit, you helped to move it from so many others along the way, you know.
I'm humble.
And I want to know, what else would you like to say about yourself before we leave? We've got about maybe 7 more minutes before the show ends. But as far as the misunderstandings and the causes and the purposes of waking up on the other side of pain, what can you add to that you would like the audience to know about?
Um, I never looked at myself through other people's eyes. I took negative talk that I heard.
Mm-hmm.
I took all the rumors that was being spread. I took all the name calling, and I asked myself, "Is that you?"
Mm-hmm.
And I had to answer myself, "No, that isn't me."
No, you're absolutely right. It's a figment of a spirit that was once there but it's not there anymore.
Right.
Um, you are a blessing, and I mean this from my heart, because when we first met, there were things that were going on in my house, you know, that the spirit was there. And people, we're not cuckoo as you may think, especially me. Um, but Michael has a way of making things happen. Huh? And once those things happen, you'll be able to see better within to life. Huh? That man you'll be able to see into life more than I'm sorry, people
No problem.
listening to the broadcast unannounced. Uh, but people come into you manage to make things happen, goodness happen, but it may not happen right then, because I've been reading your book and these things evolve in time. Your mind
Right.
is a terrible thing to waste, but the way that you put the things together in this book are amazing. You know what I'm
Give
saying?
thanks. Give
It's
thanks.
amazing. And the cause and purpose of it is to help others to heal, to
Yeah.
understand, you know.
Yeah.
That's for any background noise that you may hear at this time.
That's understandable.
But it's just amazing how you can do so much and you ask just for so little.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. And is there anything else that you'd like to say before we sign off? Give some people some advice. We've got 5 minutes left before
Okay. Wake,
shut.
wakening, and waking up is a ongoing process because pain doesn't stop. Uh, it's an ongoing process. It's not a destination that you're gonna get to and then gonna never go through no pain, never
Hmm.
go through nothing else. So, but trust the process. Study who you are every step away of the process because you'll know your weaknesses and you know your shortcomings, and that's where you can grow and develop in who you are and mature on a mental and a spiritual level. And that
Exactly.
brings about your physical healing.
Exactly. Exactly. And after that, ladies and gentlemen, or do you have anyone else that you would like to shout out to before we leave? We've got 4 minutes left, Michael.
Just everybody that has purchased the book, I want to thank you. Those who are going to purchase the book, I'll give thanks. But I really want to thank all those who have supported me, that have given me feedback on the book. I want to thank you. The universe brought it full circle. I definitely got to come to Atlanta to visit you. Um, it's been since 2009, so I think we
Yes,
do a visit.
that would be
And
great.
thank you for having me on your show. I'm honored.
Thank you, Michael. Peace
And thank
out.
you. Peace.
Peace out. Peace. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All
Good
right,
evening.
ladies and gentlemen, you listen to Michael Mohammed on the journey on the artist loft, an author, lyricist, music producer who has come back to make his comeback in the world. And please support him by going and direct messaging him. One more time, Michael, you still there? One more
Yes.
time. Give them your Instagram information. Um, one more time.
Muhammad 7 God is my Instagram. Muhammad 7 God. And you can DM me. Follow me. I'll follow you back. And
Exactly.
definitely if you're doing something where I can support any of you who are watching, definitely let me know. And we can network and connect. And I thank everyone. Peace.
Peace out, bro. Thank you.
You're
Good night.
welcome. Good night.
Good night. God bless.
God bless.